This is exactly what I had hoped for ADA yesterday, finishing the week on a nice strong note. And once again, today we started off green on lower volume, and that's a great sign to start the weekend. And I will say ADA's trying to get back out of this big bull flag that it was printing since all the way back in December. There are a few positive signs here, but we had something actually take place yesterday despite the uncertainty. And this made me look at a chart I haven't looked at in a while. And what it looks like is we actually might be prepping across the crypto market for a bigger breakout here. We're going to talk about that and more in this video. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. It's free to do. They'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So ADA's up about, again, quarter point, 0.3% to start the day. And hopefully this is a trend that continues. It is a low volume day across the weekend so far. Actually, $84 billion in daily trading volume over the last 24 hours. ADA kind of falling into that $500 million daily trading volume range. That's kind of a quiet day for ADA. But what we're still seeing is that defensive price, that accumulation, and that's a great sign. That is exactly what we want to see for ADA. Despite some of this week being red and us dealing with some ugly days, I want to point out the fact that ADA is still up about 3.4% on the weekly. So we're not in a bad spot. Again, closing candles above this 200-week moving average is crucial at this point. And what this could mean is, again, is a little bit of a correction here and possibly some push back to the upside like everybody wants to see. I will say we're still on the bullish side on the daily scar side. These last several days here of green have kind of invalidated the drop to the downside, the bearish cross. That could obviously change at any point in time. Understand that weekends tend to be a little bit unpredictable. It's a question of, what is U.S. money going to do today? Are they going to follow this green overnight trend, or is it going to be something a little bit different? I will say yesterday, there were a few points of uncertainty in the market. One being the U.S.-Canada tensions and trade talks basically dissipating. Okay. So if it's likely that tariff's going to get hit, or Canada is going to get hit with tariffs now. So that caused a little bit of uncertainty. We had the PC report, which came in at expectations, but core PC was slightly elevated. So that caused some questions. So for us to finish on this note was a great sign. And there's something else I want to talk about here in just a moment, but I did want to point out the fact that we actually had another positive day for both Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs. Two, they were actually sizable days. Bitcoin was $501 million added. Ethereum was actually, $77 million added. And both of these respectively were the third largest and fourth largest weeks of accumulation here in 2025. So you're seeing these large entities just buy and buy and buy like we've been talking about. And a lot of people, I think, are just kind of overlooking this. They're not paying much attention. But this is where a lot of people are frankly going to kind of mess things up and get stuck with some of the bearish, pessimistic sentiment. And just, that's what people tend to do. They tend to blow it in crypto with trying to get cute. And, it kind of is what it is. They can do whatever they want. Now, what I will say here is a great sign from the market, again, was despite that uncertainty, we actually finished with the new all-time high close in the S&P 500 of 6173. Now, this is a very big deal because it's showing that the market cares less about this noise now, and it's very much making these steps and pushes forward. Now, this made me look at a chart that we have not looked at in quite some time, and that is actually the BTC US 500 chart. Now, for those that aren't familiar with this or that don't remember, every time, especially since the start of the bull market cycle, we've dealt with these periods of consolidation where we've been trying to break to the upside. We keep setting lower highs, and then eventually we get a little bit of a break versus the S&P 5. Okay. Now for BTC, this actually started all the way back in January of 2023. That was following the BTC bottom. And you guys can see these very distinct breakouts of trend. One in January of 23, second one in October of 2023, started the bull market. One in February of 2024. We obviously know we had a nice rally then to a new all-time high as well. That happened in March. Then October of 2024, which was right before the November 4th launch date, we'll call it. And then here again in April of 2025, obviously as we were kind of bottoming across the crypto market and starting to get a bit of a correction. Now we're doing this same exact trend, guys, that we have done time and time and time again. It's a question of, how much bleeding do we get? Do we see, the markets still keep dropping versus the S&P and then a distinct breakout sometime later in July? Or are we kind of at that point where we've pressed hard enough against this and there's enough confidence from BTC that we get an early break? That's the big question. Because then obviously alts can make up some ground here too. And in fact, I want to show everybody the total 3 US 500 chart as well, which we have never looked at before. And we've done the same thing before. Now, obviously we didn't do this here in January of 2023. Alts were still trying to find their bottoms. They still weren't doing well until finally we got into September. So we had a breakout. We had a little bit of a retest here into October. And then, of course, we had a nice rally versus the S&P. Same thing here again in February of 2024. We obviously had a nice rally there. Breakout here again in October into November of 2024 as well. I have to keep remembering the years. And then again here in April, right? And now we've been building exact same trend here. Now we're a little bit descended from this trend line here. We're a little bit below this 20-day moving average, which is something to watch here too. But eventually, alts are going to start trying to attack this as well. Now, this sometimes has happened before BTC. Sometimes it has happened after BTC. Right now, it's looking like it's probably going to be after BTC. BTC is likely going to lead the way on this move, and then alts will, in fact, follow. And again, it all just comes down to a question of retail confidence. I will say right now, there is technically a bearish cross here on the daily stochastic RSI. Doesn't really mean a whole lot on this chart, to be honest with you guys. But right now, that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of in this, we'll call it like a load up phase. Basically, the market trying to build some momentum and muster up enough push to break through these trends and start extending. We're seeing that on the daily charts for assets in general. BTC again trying to fight and do the same thing. So I will say that we're actually in a pretty good spot in the market despite the bearish sentiment. That's again where I think a lot of people are going to get caught, but we'll just have to watch and wait and see what happens. BTC once again back on the bullish side on the daily stochastic RSI. So yeah, hopefully we get a good weekend, guys. Could see some good news next week. We have jobs reports. We'll see what happens. So appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.